Topic 1, slope given a graph or ordered pairs. What I'm going to do for numbers 1, 2, and 3 is I'm going to find 2 points already given on the line, and I'm going to connect them, making a triangle. We know that slope is rise over run, so I'm going to count the boxes for the rise, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and count the boxes for the run, 1, 2, 2. So my rise is 5, my run is 2, but I also should look at the graph and notice that it is falling from left to right, so my slope is negative 5 over 2. I could also, if I wanted to, make the triangle going that way, doesn't matter which way. Number 2, pick any 2 points. Let's say I pick this point and I pick this one. Finding my rise, well, there is no vertical change, so 0. Over the run, it runs of 2. 0 divided by 2 is 0. A horizontal line should always have a slope of 0. A good way to remember this, horizontal has 2 O's, kind of look like zeros. Number 3, I have a vertical line, so again I'm going to pick any 2 points, doesn't matter which 2. My rise this time is 1. My run doesn't change horizontally, so 0. We can't have 0 on the bottom, so the slope here is undefined. Number 4, I need to use my slope formula, change in y over change in x. It might be helpful to label your points so you can just plug them into the formula we know. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. These two minus signs, minus a negative, end up making a plus sign. So we have negative 4 plus 1, which is negative 3. And we have negative 3 plus 12, which is 9. This reduces to negative 1/3. Number 5. Again, I'm going to label my points. And then use the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Again, if I have a minus and negative, I know that that becomes a positive sign. I can change my negative 2 minus 7 to negative 2 plus negative 7 if that is helpful. Negative 2 plus negative 7 is negative 9. And negative 11 plus 11 is 0. Undefined. I cannot have 0 on the bottom. Notice there is no change in my x coordinates, which tells me that this is a vertical line. Topic 2, slope-intercept form versus standard form. We know slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is my slope and b is my y-intercept. Standard form, ax plus by equals c, where we know that a, b, and c must be integers. That means no fractions, no decimals. Number 6, write a linear equation with a slope of 1 and a y-intercept of negative 7. We are given both pieces that we need for our y equals mx plus b, so plugging it in. Y equals, my slope is 1, x, my y-intercept is negative 7, so I could say plus negative 7, but I should really write that as a minus sign. So y equals 1x minus 7. Identify the slope and y-intercept of the equation y equals negative 3x. Well, there's really a plus 0 here. Well, my slope is the number that comes before my x. So my slope is negative 3, and my y-intercept is the point 0, 0. So it goes through the origin. Number 8. Identify the slope and y-intercept of the equation 2x plus 5y equals 20. Currently, that's in standard form. We have 2 ways we know how to do this. We can either get y by itself, so I'll do that first. First thing I'm going to do is subtract 2x on both sides. So I move that 2x to the other side. Now I'm going to divide everything by 5 so that I get my y alone. Negative 2/5 x plus 4. Now I know that my slope is negative. Y-intercept is the point 0, 4. I could also use this shortcut method that we talked about, where I know that m equals negative a over b. Well, a is 2, so I have negative 2, and b is 5, done. Or I know that my y-intercept is c divided by b. Well, c is 20, and b is 5, which leaves me with 4. You have either of those options, whatever you are more comfortable with. Number 9, I also have the choice to do either way. Identify the slope and y-intercept of the equation x minus 2y equals 2. First way, I'm going to get y by itself. So the first thing, I'm going to subtract x from both sides. So now I have negative 2y equals negative x plus 2. Divide everything by negative 2 so that the y is by itself. And I have y equals 1/2 x minus 1. My slope is 1/2. And my y-intercept is the point 0, negative 1. I can also use the shortcut method to do this, where m equals negative a over b. Well, a is 1, so negative 1, and b is negative 2. Negative 1 divided by 2 is positive 1/2. That's the same thing I got over on the left-hand side. Or my y-intercept is c over b. Well, c is 2, and my b is negative 2, which is negative 1. So my y-intercept here is also 0, negative 1. Write a linear equation given the graph. So topic 3. Well, here I need the y-intercept and the slope. So let's find the slope first. I can see that my graph rises from left to right, so I know I should have a positive slope. I'm going to count the boxes of my rise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So my rise of 7 over a run of 2. My y-intercept crosses the y-axis right down here at negative 3. So when I put that in, I get 7/2 x minus 3. Number 11, same thing. Well, now I know that my slope has to be negative because it's falling from left to right. I'm going to create my triangle. I'm going to notice that my rise is 1, 2, 3, 4. And my run is also 4. That reduces to negative 1. My y-intercept is this point up here, positive 3. So just plugging it in, negative 1x plus 3. Done. Identify the equation of the line graph below, proved by converting. Well, first I should probably see what I can find out from my graph itself. I know that it has a negative slope because it's falling from left to right. It has a y-intercept of plus 4 and a slope of rise 2, run 4. So rise, it's negative, rise 2, run 4, which equals negative 1/2. So I'm looking for the equation negative 1/2 x plus 4. None of my answers look like that. That's because they're all written in standard form. So I need to get y by itself. A, I just need to bring 2x to the other side, so negative 2x plus 4. Well, it's not A. B, bring 2x to the other side. And now divide everything by negative 1. Still not that one. Okay, can't be B. I'm going to bring x to the other side for C. So 2y equals negative x plus 8. Divide everything by 2. Y equals negative 1/2 x plus 4. Hey, that's what I want. Let's just make sure, though, that D doesn't work. I'm going to bring x to the other side. So negative 2y equals negative x plus 8. Divide by negative 2. And I end up with y equals 1/2 x plus 4. That has a positive slope, so it's not D. Now is a good time for you to hit pause. Make sure you try number 13 on your own and then come back and check. First, identify the y-intercept, -1, and then find the slope. From that, we have a point up here. So draw a triangle. My rise is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My run is 3, and it's positive. So I'm looking for y equals 5/3 x minus 1. I'm going to bring 3x to the other side. So I have 5y equals -3x plus 5. Divide by 5. Which leaves us with y equals -3/5 x plus 1. Doesn't work. Same thing for b. Bring 3x to the other side. -5y equals -3x plus 5. Divide everything by -5. And we are left with y equals 3/5 x minus 1. That slope doesn't work. It's opposite reciprocal, so actually that would be a parallel line. So not that one. C, bring 5x to the other side. Divide everything by 3. And we end up with y equals -5/3 x plus 1. We want a positive slope, so it can't be C, so it must be D. Let's prove it. Bring 5x to the other side. Divide everything by -3. And we're left with y equals 5/3 x minus 1. Yep, that's what we want. Topic 4, vertical and horizontal lines. 14, x equals 4. That means that if I were to make a table of values, x is always 4. I can pick any value for y, but x always has to be 4. So now if I plot those points, 4, 0, 4, 1, 4, 4, I could even do 4, -4, I have a vertical line. Y equals -1. This time, y is always -1. Pick anything you want for x. No matter what, it can be anything, y just has to be -1. So 0, -1, 1, -1, 3, -1, 5, -1. I could have -4, -1. When I connect these, I have a horizontal line. Topic 5, writing linear equations giving a point and slope or 2 points. For these questions, I want to use point-slope form, where I'm going to plug my slope in for m, and I'm going to use the x-coordinate here and the y-coordinate here. So, given the point 3, -5, and slope -4, I'm going to plug in what I know. Well, I know that 3 is my x1, -5 is my y1, and slope, or the m, is going to be -4. So just substitute it in. Y minus -5 is my point, equals, my slope is -4, x minus my x1, which is 3. Now, it doesn't really tell me that I have to put it in slope-intercept form, but we should practice anyway. So let's practice getting y by itself. Remember that minus a negative is going to turn those to a positive. So in order to move that 5 to the other side, I need to subtract it. And on this side, I need to distribute. So y equals -4x plus 12 when I distribute, and I can't forget about that minus 5. So it really ends up being y equals -4x plus 7. 17, same thing. -6 is my x1, 1 is my y1, and the slope, or the m, is going to be 1/2. So plugging it in, y minus 1 equals 1/2 x minus -6. Again, I'm going to change my minus negative to a plus sign, Okay, distribute, and then add this 1 to the other side. So we got y equals 1/2 x plus 3 when I distributed, plus that 1 that I brought over. So my final answer, y equals 1/2 x plus 4. What do I do if I have 2 points? Well, I need to find, the only thing I'm missing here is the slope. Well, we did that in a previous section. So now is a good time to pause, try it yourself. Equals 6 minus 1, negative 2 minus 3. And I get 5 over negative 5, which is negative 1. Now I can pick either point, but I'm going to choose this point because it has all positives. So y minus 1 equals negative 1, which is my slope, x minus 3. And again, I need to get the y by itself. So I'm going to actually draw that line there, add 1 to both sides, and then distribute that negative 1. So y equals negative x plus 3 plus that 1 I brought over. So y equals negative x plus 4. Pause, try number 19, and then check your answer with my work. Y equals negative 2/5 x plus 3. Who noticed that that point 0,3 is actually special? Do you know what it is? Think about it. If I drew a graph over 0, up 3, my line went through that point, yep, that's the y-intercept. So as soon as I found the slope, I could have just jumped to that equation knowing that my y-intercept was plus 3. Describe the slopes of parallel lines, then give an example of 2 linear equations that are parallel. Well, we know that lines that are parallel rise and run at the same rate. Therefore, their slopes have to be the same. So, any 2 equations that have the same number before the x and a different y-intercept are going to be parallel. Describe the slopes of perpendicular lines. Then give an example of 2 linear equations that are perpendicular. If they're perpendicular, they're rising and running in opposite directions. We know that their slopes are opposite reciprocals. Opposite meaning positive, negative, and reciprocal meaning you're going to flip your fraction. So, 2 parallel lines would be y equals 2/3 x minus 6 and y equals 3 negative 3/2 x plus any y-intercept. How about 4? Okay, so here my slopes are opposite, meaning this one's positive and this one's negative, and my numerator and denominator are flipped. So now write an equation through the point negative 3, 1 that is parallel to y equals 2x plus 5. That means I need to borrow this 2, actually steal it, from that equation. So I have the point negative 3, 1. So here's my x1, my y1, and I have a slope of 2. So I have a point and a slope, so I'm going to use point slope form. Y minus 1 equals 2, x minus negative 3, and then go ahead and get y by itself. Add 1 to both sides, and distribute this 2. Don't forget to make this minus a negative sign here a positive. So y equals 2x plus 6 plus that 1 that we brought over. Final answer of y equals 2x plus 7. I can check. I should look at my original equation and see that my slopes are the same. Write an equation passing through the point negative 8, negative 5. So x1, y1, that is perpendicular to 4x plus 3y equals 6. Well, that means I need an opposite reciprocal slope. Now remember, I can use standard form here in the shortcut to figure out my slope instead of getting y by itself. I know my slope is negative a over b. A is 4, so negative 4, and b is 3. Now this is the slope of the line, perpendicular. So I want a new slope. I'm going to flip it and make it positive. So the slope that I'm going to use is positive 3/4. Point slope form, y minus -5 equals 3/4 x minus -8. Again, I'm going to make these a big positive sign. I'm going to subtract this 5 and bring it to the other side and distribute the 3/4. So y equals 3/4 x plus 3/4 times 8 is going to be 6, and then minus 5. So my answer, y equals 3/4 x plus 1. I can check and make sure that my slope is an opposite reciprocal of what I started with. Topic 7, line of best fit. The number of entrants in the Boston Marathon were recorded every 5 years since 2005. Use the line of best fit to predict the number of entrants in 2012. You need your calculator for this one. So in year, I'm going to enter in list 1, and entrants I'm going to enter in list 2. Remember, you can find that by hitting the stat button, hitting enter, and then go ahead and enter your data. Next, we want to go to stat, then scroll over to calc, number 4, linear regression. Make sure it says list 1, list 2, calculate, or just hit enter, and you should get on your screen y equals ax plus b, where a is 591 and b is negative 1166700. Remember, we can't use y and x because we have a real problem here. So we put our x in list 1 and our y in list 2. So we're going to replace y with entrance equals our a is 591 times our year minus 1166700. I could put a plus and then the minus sign, but we should just write it as a minus. Now the question asks us to predict the number of entrants in the year 2012. So here I'm going to replace it with 2012. When I plug that into my calculator, I end up with 22,392 entrants. Now remember, we talked about in class that we don't want to predict too far into the future because things happen that could change it. The table below shows Mia's bowling scores each week she participated in a bowling league. Use the line of best fit to estimate Mia's score for week 16. In list 1, let's plug in week. This is going to be our x. And in list 2, let's plug in score, and this is going to be our y. Again, stat edit and enter them in list 1 and list 2. Remember that you can clear the data from before. If you highlight, use your up arrow to highlight L1 and hit the clear button. Highlight L2 and hit the clear button. Don't hit the delete button because you don't want to erase your list completely. Once I have that entered, make sure you double check that you entered the numbers correctly. Make sure you have the same number in list 1 as you do in list 2. Then hit stat, right arrow over to calc, go down to number 4. Either hit enter, or if you see calculate on your screen, select calculate. My output, again, I see y equals ax plus b, and it tells me that a is 3.7 and b is 120.3. I'm not going to say y in my final answer. I'm going to say score equals 3.7 times the week plus 120.3. The question asks for me is score in week 16, so I'm going to plug in a 16 here on my calculator, and when I do that, I get an output. She gets a score of 179.5. Remember last class when we turned our diagnostic on? You probably in this part had an R value, and remember that was our correlation, and it looked something like 0.87. That's positive, so that tells me my line should be going up, and it's probably pretty straight because it is close to 1. A local gas station is offering a deal to their customers. If they purchase an $8 car wash, the cost per gallon is $2.60. Write and solve a linear equation to how to find out how many gallons you can afford if you have $40. Well, pretend we didn't even know we had $40. We could set up an equation that the cost would be, I know I'm going to pay $8 plus $2.60 for every gallon. It asks for how many gallons. So this is what I'm solving for if I know that my cost is 40. Working backwards, first thing, subtract 8. So now I have 32 equals 260 times the number of gallons, divide by 260. And I end up with 12.31 gallons. Amy deposited dimes and quarters into the Coinstar machine at her local grocery store. The total money she deposited was $11.35. If Amy had 26 dimes, write and solve a linear equation to find the number of quarters she had. Well, I know that dimes are worth 10 cents, so I have 26 dimes worth 10 cents each, plus we don't know how many quarters, but those are worth 25 cents. And I know that together, that's why I have this plus sign here, when I add up the value, Amy has a total worth of $11.35. 26 times 0.10, or that 10 cents, is 260 plus 0.25Q equals 11.35. First, subtract your 260 from both sides. 0.25Q equals 875. And then divide by 0.25. I have, or Amy has, 35 quarters. To sign up for TiVo, you must purchase the DVR recorder upfront, then pay $19.95 per month for service. 8 months after signing up, Martha had paid a total of $288.60 for the recorder and service. Write and solve a linear equation to find the total amount she had paid for the 2-year agreement she signed. This is a 2-step problem. First, I need to figure out how much she's paying, or how much she paid for the recorder. Then once I have that, I can figure out how much she will pay in the 2-year period. So I know that the total bill is $288.60, and that's made up of the DVD recorder, so we'll put that as D, we don't know that cost, plus she's paying $19.95, and she did that for 8 months. When I multiply $19.95 times 8, I get 159.6. And I need to subtract that from both sides so that I can figure out what D is. So I get the cost of the box is $129. So in 2 years, the total amount that she will have paid is going to be $129 plus $19.95 for 24 months. And I get $607.80. That's a lot. The cost of a classified ad is based on a daily rate plus a flat service fee. 1 day costs $3.50 and 4 days cost $8. Write and solve a linear equation to find the cost to run a 4 or a 7-day ad. We are actually given here 2 points. We know that 1 day costs $3.50 and 4 days cost $8. So how do we figure out how much $7? And we have to write a linear equation for this. Well, what am I starting with here and here? 2 points. So we need to find the slope and then plug it into point slope form and go from there. Take a minute and try it, pause it, and then check your answer with mine. Now that I have an equation of y equals 1.5x plus 2, I really shouldn't have a y or have y here and x here. I really should write my y as being my cost, so it should say cost equals 1.5 times the days plus 2. The question asks to find the cost for a 7-day ad, so I'm going to replace this with a 7. 1.5 times 7 plus 2 is 12.5. So it will cost $12.50 for it to run a 7-day ad.